Welcome, executives. So glad you're joining me for this strategic explainer. Now, here's a crazy statistic for you. Did you know that over half of all projects that finish exactly on time and completely on budget still manage to fail at delivering any real business value? It's true. So today, we're doing a high-level briefing on the newly released PMBOK Guide, 8th edition. And don't worry, we are absolutely not here to get bogged down in granular project mechanics. Instead, we're talking about a massive fundamental shift required in organizational leadership. We're talking about the critical pivot from tactical execution straight to strategic value realization. Let's dive right in.
For decades, the legacy mindset was just hyper-focused on strict constraints. The ultimate question was always simply, is this thing delivered on time and on budget? But the reality of modern business, well, it's a lot more unforgiving than that. Delivering a project perfectly on schedule is practically meaningless if the actual strategic value is lost, or, say, if the market has already moved on and your value proposition is dead in the water. The modern mindset, which the 8th edition really champions, is entirely outcome and value-driven. The new question you've got to ask yourselves is, does this deliverable actually generate the strategic benefit our organization desperately needs?
So here is our roadmap for today. First, redefining modern project success. Second, the value delivery system. Third, driving strategic organizational change. Fourth, integrating governance. And finally, number 5, the executive strategic mandate.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, redefining modern project success. So what exactly do we mean when we say value? Well, the 8th edition formally defines it as the net excess of financial and non-financial benefits over your investment. This is the ultimate goal right here. Value isn't just launching a shiny new software system. It's the 10,000 hours of employee time you actually save by using that system. Sure, it's evaluated quantitatively by your CFOs using metrics like ROI or net present value, but it's also evaluated qualitatively by your customers and stakeholders. Think utility, ease of use, and overall societal impact. Business value actually breaks down into both tangible and intangible assets. We're all pretty used to tracking the tangible stuff, right? Market share, stockholder equity, monetary profitability. But those intangible assets are equally crucial to your overall value delivery. We're talking about brand reputation, public benefit, acquired knowledge, and strict regulatory compliance. A truly successful project doesn't just hand over a product. It elevates all of these assets across the entire board.
Moving right along to section 2, the value delivery system. Listen, your projects don't just operate in a vacuum. They exist within this holistic organizational engine that is explicitly designed to produce value. At the very top, you have portfolios, which manage collections of initiatives to maximize overall value delivery and keep everything aligned with your strategic objectives. Just beneath those, programs step in to coordinate related projects so you can obtain overarching benefits that you just couldn't get by managing them piecemeal. And then, at the foundational level, you have projects. These are your temporary initiatives undertaken to actively create that value. They all have distinct jobs, but they absolutely must function together cohesively.
And to keep that whole engine running smoothly, you need a highly dynamic two-way informational loop. As senior leadership, you establish the strategy at the top. That vision flows down through portfolios, into programs and projects, and finally hits daily operations. But here's the kicker. There has to be a bottom-up feedback mechanism. Operations must feed real-world market data back up the chain. Projects need to report their performance, and portfolios have to report milestone realization right back to you. This is what allows you, as leaders, to continually adjust and refine the organizational strategy. Okay, let's head into section 3, driving strategic organizational change. From a pure business perspective, the entire purpose of a project is to transport your organization from its current state, where you've got some identified gap or need, through a somewhat messy, active transition state and safely land it into a strategically aligned future state. That future state, that is exactly where realized value lives. If your projects aren't actively pushing the organization toward that specific envisioned future, well, they're quite simply wasting capital. So, how do we guarantee we actually reach that future state? Well, there's a very strict pathway. Delivering a technical asset, let's say building a new enterprise AI platform, that is merely an output. To reach actual value realization, you've got to pair that technical output with formal change management frameworks. Think AIDCAR or Cotter's models. Building awareness and desire among your team creates capabilities. Then, when the business unit actually adopts the system, you achieve an outcome. Maybe your customer service times drop by 40%.
Only then, when your operational costs drop and customer retention rises way above your initial investment, have you achieved true value realization.
Now for Section 4, integrating governance. To make this entire value engine hum, your executive-level oversight has to seamlessly interlock with your project-level frameworks. It's crucial we clearly delineate the two. Organizational governance is your domain in the C-suite. It's the macro-level stuff: executive direction, ensuring legal compliance, managing enterprise risk, and setting those big operational goals. On the flip side, project governance handles the highly specific processes, frameworks, and success criteria for individual day-to-day initiatives. Now, the gap between those two, that is exactly where value frequently gets lost. As leaders, you have to bridge that gap, ensuring project governance is directly inspired by and consistently reporting up to your organizational governance.
So, here is the absolute bottom line. When you successfully align these governance structures, you fundamentally transform project management. It completely ceases to be some back-office administrative chore. Instead, it becomes a core strategic competency. It literally becomes the mechanism by which you ensure long-term sustainability, outpace your competitors, and rapidly adapt to sudden changes in the business environment. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the Executive Strategic Mandate. The 8th edition distills modern delivery down into 6 core actionable principles. As executives, consider these your new directives. First, you must champion a culture that adopts a holistic view, meaning you see projects as interconnected systems where tweaking the scope instantly impacts risk and cost. Second, demand a relentless focus on value over just mechanical execution. Third, embed quality from day one to avoid incredibly costly rework later. Fourth, be an accountable leader. Fifth, integrate sustainability across both the financial and environmental spectrums. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, build an empowered, psychologically safe culture where your teams genuinely trust each other to execute. Now, these principles come alive in the real world through active tailoring. Because the PMBOK 8th edition is driven by principles rather than rigid bureaucratic prescriptions, it empowers your teams to select the exact right approach, tailor it specifically for your organization, and refine it for each individual project. As a leader, you need to empower your project managers to mercilessly eliminate those low-impact, legacy deliverables that do absolutely nothing for your future state. Free them up to focus strictly on generating real value. I want to wrap up by leaving you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. Think about it. Are your organizational projects right now merely executing outputs, just checking boxes on a schedule? Or are they systematically, deliberately building your envisioned future state? I highly encourage you to audit your project baselines tomorrow morning. Explicitly map every single output you are tracking directly to the real-world business value it's supposed to build. And if there is no clear connection, elevate it to governance immediately and change course. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.